Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs in our lives don't come from some huge dramatic event. Nope. They start in the smallest, most unexpected ways. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a really powerful realization that all started with a simple text message and ended up changing, well, pretty much everything for one person.
So here's the puzzle that kicks this whole thing off. Just imagine getting a genuinely sweet message from someone. It's well-intentioned, it's kind, but your gut reaction? It's not warmth, it's irritation. And that weird, counterintuitive feeling is the thread we're going to pull on today to see what unravels.
So let's start with that trigger, that feeling of annoyance that just didn't make any sense. It all began, like so many things do now, with a little ping from a phone.
Listen to the honesty in that. There's no sugarcoating it. The message was from a cousin with special needs, and the immediate, unfiltered feeling was just annoyance. It's that jarring contrast that forced a moment of real introspection.
Okay, so to really get this, let's break down the situation. The text itself was lovely, just a simple Happy New Year. But the feeling it created was so out of whack, so disproportionate, that it led to this huge realization. The problem wasn't the cousin, and it definitely wasn't the message. The problem was coming from inside. And here's the thing. This one little moment of irritation wasn't just a random one-off event. Oh no, it was the tip of a much, much bigger iceberg. It was revealing this deeply ingrained pattern of pity.
And this is the first major aha moment. The annoyance wasn't really about the text message at all. It was about the entire foundation of the relationship. They realized they weren't seeing their cousin as a whole person, but through this lens of pity. And that made every interaction feel, inauthentic. And honestly, draining.
But here's where it gets even bigger. This pattern, this lens of pity, it wasn't just for family. A straight line could be drawn from how they saw their cousins to their work at an NGO. They saw their clients through a framework of poverty. It was the exact same dynamic, and guess what? It had the exact same result. It was completely depleted. And this had been going on for a decade. 10 years of working this way, operating from the same framework, had left them feeling totally and utterly burned out.
So all of these feelings, all these patterns, they finally get a name. All the dots connect, and they land on this powerful psychological concept that just explains everything. It's called the Saviour complex.
So, the Saviour complex. What is it? It's basically this deep-seated need to help or rescue other people, often at your own expense, and the motivation, and this is the key part, it's not always just about being a good person. It's often tied to this deep need to feel worthy, to feel important.
And this complex was so deep, it was even shaping their future plans. An idea for a new podcast to tell the stories of people from low-income communities, it sounded so noble on the surface. But then they realized, wait a minute, this is just the Saviour complex wearing a new costume. The pattern was just repeating itself. So this brings us to the personal cost. What actually happens when your entire life, your identity, is structured around being the savior for everyone else? Well, you get trapped in this really draining loop. You act out of pity, and you get this little temporary high of feeling needed, feeling important. But it's not real, and it doesn't last. It just leaves you feeling empty and inauthentic. And in the end, they realized they had made themselves a supporting cast member in everybody else's movie instead of being the main character in their own life. And that feeling, that realization, it leads to this incredibly powerful declaration. It's a refusal to keep sacrificing. It's a profound turning point, a demand to finally take back their own story. All right, so this is the pivot. After figuring out the problem and feeling just how heavy it was, a whole new, liberating way of thinking starts to take shape. And this is it. This is the core of the entire breakthrough, a simple but absolutely radical statement. Instead of trying to save everyone else, the focus has to shift inward. The number one job is to save yourself. And think about what that means. It creates this amazing ripple effect. If you take responsibility for being your own savior, then you have to grant other people the dignity and respect of being their own saviors too. This reframes every single relationship. It's no longer about pity or rescue. It's about seeing everyone, including yourself, as a capable, whole person. But here's the catch. A realization this big doesn't come with an instruction manual. It actually raises way more questions than it answers, and it kicks off a new chapter that's uncertain but absolutely necessary. This is that point of no return. Once you know this, you can't unknow it.
You just can't go back to the old way of doing things. The speaker knows they have to change how they show up at work, in their family, but how? The path isn't clear. All they know is it can't be business as usual.
And that leaves us with one last really challenging question. One for all of us, really. When you strip away a role that has defined you for so long, whether it's the savior, the helper, the funny one, whatever, what are you actually left with? It's a tough question for sure, but it's also right where the real work of living your own life truly begins.